Welcome to the Apex Racing TV Weekly Roundup podcast, your surefire way of keeping up to date with all of Apex Racing TV's broadcasted series. This week, we examine the new 2020 Season 1 iRacing build, along with discussing the Ricmotech GT Challenge and the Apex Racing League American GT Championship. So let's jump into the action with your hosts Sam Fitzpatrick and Marco Barbanero. Welcome back, Marco, to another episode of this Apex Racing TV Weekly Roundup podcast. And it's week 13, so not too many series that we're going to discuss about today, but there is a lot of major iRacing changes which we'll be able to sink our teeth into.
Exactly. Hello, Sam. Hello everyone. Week 13, but we are not taking a break from the podcast. Au contraire, we are still going strong, and of course, together with the reviews of the series running around on our channels during these last couple of days, we will also have some interesting updates on the new build.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll start off with the couple of series and then we'll talk about iRacing a little bit later on. I'm sure the timestamps for each section of this podcast will be in the description. And so we will first talk about the Ricmotech GT Challenge. A really good series, this, the 2 rounds that I've watched, this time at Sebring, a nice day to evening race. I got the time of day actually very good for that. It wasn't pitch black. No one likes to see pitch black. It looks horrendous on the broadcast, but instead it was just the evening. So I really was looking very nice out there. And of course, GTE and GT3 cars. In terms of what happened out there, certainly from the start, Aaron Nom starts from pole position, absolute dominator of the series. He lost the lead though in the very early stages. This in the GTE class to Caden Bin with a superb move around the outside, both turns 1, 2, and 4, I think, to eventually get through. And that was kind of the big event in the GTE class at the start. And then in the GT3 class, Gagnon Renault ran wide at turn 1 from the lead, which allowed Brendan Whitworth to get past into turn 2. They then hit each other at turn 4, though, allowing Siflet to go from 7th to 1st in the first sector of the lap, which was certainly one of the greatest starts that I've ever seen. But I mean, Sebring, Marco, it's a great circuit for those cars. Of course, we have the 12 hours of Sebring. You know more about that event than anyone else, really, as a winner yourself. But no, it does provide really good races. Usually, it's kind of difficult to put your finger on, but it's such a unique circuit with the bumps and the unique blend of corners. But I think it's one of those circuits which is quite difficult to overtake, and so you get a few more trains, you get some more long-lasting battles. And this event at Sebring was really fun.
It was absolutely, yes, you absolutely nailed it, talking about how unique the racetrack is with its uneven surface full of bumps and each and every corner. I think this is the perfect showcase for laser scanning because not only the bumps, which are the obvious thing to talk about here, but also the way that each corner has a different but and almost very tough to feel, but it's there a little bit of banking each and every corner, and I think the laser scanning really shows off. How much this technique is important to get the real feel for the track. Now, of course, we talk about Ricmotech in the past, the GT Challenge, which is modeled after the GT classes of the real life WeatherTech Championship, the IMSA series in real life. So GT and GT3 running together without the prototype, which I think it's a bit better for the action, for the racing. A bit sad because I always think about the big missing car in iRacing right now, a modern day DPI or LMP2, which is a bit of a shame, especially because the DP, while it is a lot of fun, it is also very outdated and very scarcely populated. So in the official series, you might find people like me I mean, even myself, I like the DP, but when I race it, it's always with a lot of fear because inevitably you're going to end up in the top split, and top split guys in the GT are much faster than me on a DP, you know.
I
So
mean, for me, the DP is literally my favorite car in the entire game. I went back home the other day, and the first car I jumped into, DP. Fortunately, the official series was at Montreal as well, which is pretty much our favorite circuit in terms of driving. And honestly, just try the DP around Montreal. It is insane fun. It is horrendous how no one drives a DP, considering that, like I said, it's just got the perfect mix between a prototype and a GT car. Um, but no, not much love for it. Anyway, apologies, just had to put that out there. Drive the DP, best car in the game.
yes, and I mean, we will talk about the release notes a little bit later, but iRacing is really spoiling us with last minute surprises. So who knows if maybe, you know, in next season we are going to get something new on that front. We have no idea about that, but you know, given the big surprises that were in the build this time around, who knows? So maybe enjoy the DP while you can, and certainly one of the. I love the car. I mean, at Spa, I can stay in front of the GTs, but that's just about the only track where I can do it because apart from that, I'm very, 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 very slow. So, and of course, it's a common topic of complaints in the forums about the DPs. You know, getting in the way, sadly, of the GT races. But back to Ricmotech then. Another great race here. It's beautiful the way Sebring looks at sunset, I have to tell you. It brings back the memories. And it takes a lot to beat Teronom, but that's what happened, and so I finished in third place. In the end, Gagnon Renault was able to come back in GT3, and you know, entertaining race all in all. It was as per usual with what we expect with Ricmotech. So you know, very clean, very you know, live stewarding, beautifully organized. So big thumbs up once again on this series.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of how we got to those results. I think just looking at my notes. So Brandon Whitworth, who was running in the top 5 in the GT3 class, he spun from 4th place. Maybe he could have had a chance at the race win, if it weren't for that, because he seemed to have decent pace. Also, 20 minutes in, Gagnon Renault managed to retake the lead in that class and pretty much just held on to it from there. It was always very close in that GT3 class, but once he got into the lead, I think he's won every round he's taken part in this season. So very impressive from him. And in the GTE class, it was absolutely terrific. An incredible battle amongst the top drivers. Bine was leading for the entire first stint, with Eranom hounding his rear end. It seems as though Bine actually had a little bit more pace as well. Nom struggling to keep up, kind of having to use the slipstream just to stay in touch. And Bine pitted on the 48-minute mark, which was perhaps a little bit further than we thought the drivers would go, but being quite a low fuel consumption circuit. And Nom went one lap further, put in a superb in lap, and managed to just about get ahead by about 0.3 of a second. I mean, watch back the broadcast, or certainly that moment in after this podcast, because it was mega close. However, Nom then made a shocking error going into turn 2, an error which is so rare from him. Dipped a wheel onto the grass, spun the car, and Nom lost the lead, dropped down to 3rd place, nearly dropped down to 4th place soon after, and unfortunately couldn't gain any places back near the end. So it was Caden Bine winning the GTE class, I believe his first win of the season. William Laster was in 2nd place with Eranom in 3rd. Then it was Gagnon Renault winning the GT3 class. Guim Yet finishing in 2nd place, and Shiflets from 7th place on the grid. So it was still a good drive. Finished in 3rd place in that class. And that series, Mark, I mean, I must just be a curse, because when I saw the VIR round, again, Eranom didn't win. He got in an incident with a back mark on the last lap of the race, and this time lost out again. But brilliant that of course, you've spoken before how dominant Aeronom has been in the Ricmotech various series. Whatever car you put him in, seems to always win out. In this race, Bine was a proper equal to him, if not better. It's fantastic that the other drivers are really elevating their game just to keep up with Aeronom.
Which is, it's what people are in the end, I think, looking forward or looking for the upside of having a dominant driver or drivers in the series. They push other drivers to do better. So I mean, I think if I was a driver in that series and I was not Ironom, I would always try to get close to him as much as I can. And it's almost a fight. We talk about this dynamic happening often in teams. When you have maybe let's say 5 drivers and the fastest driver with the second fastest driver trying to get as quick as the first, the third fastest driver trying to get as quick as the second, and so on. So you basically try to work all together towards a common objective, which is in the end getting faster, bringing home the results. In a championship kind of situation is a bit different, but I think the idea more or less is the same. So great to have, a driver like Aeronomy, and he also sounds so calm, and in the interviews he almost sounds like he's trying to make it look like his efforts are not that special or unique. So he's openly talking about how much less and less he is practicing as of late. So still, good for him if he's able to get these fantastic results with little practice.
Yeah, definitely.
And every once in a while he makes a mistake, but that is because he's human.
Yeah, no doubt. He's still leading the championship as well, quite commandingly. 223 points for Aeronom, with William Laster in second place. Mike Dam, very close as well. I don't think Dam took part on Monday, so he'll have quite a low drop score, which will help him. In the GTD class, Ian Gagnon Renault still leads the way. Decent margin for him, again, 24 points ahead of Tyler Shiflett, with Brendan Misler in third place. So this championship's still quite open. The point scoring system kind of reminds me of the old F1 point scoring system where you had 10, 8, 6, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where the difference between first and second isn't particularly big. It's more about those consistent finishes, which can really yield you some good results. And of course, just a couple of non-finishes, a race win is worth 30 points, so you could easily turn it round. Trying to find out what the next race in the season is. I should be able to find it. It is, in fact, I think it's the season finale coming up next time. 1.5 hour race at Road America. A nice place to finish off the season. Another great place for GTE and GT3 cars. So, yeah, this season's been going on for a few months now, since July the 22nd. And yeah, will be a fantastic end to the season. Of course, we've got the other alternate series coming up this week. So this Road America round will be the following week. But no, it's been another fantastic success, Marco. And when they've got 20-odd cars entering both classes, pretty much at the start of the season and then at the end of the season as well, really does show the quality of the league that so many people are sticking around with it.
Yes, and I love the fact that this has been basically one of the longest tenured series on our channels. It's been there. It has been there for quite a long time, and it looks like it's going to be that way for a long time still. Not usually my cup of tea, of course, because of the time difference. But every time I'm drafted in for a last-minute replacement, I'm so happy because of the quality, and once again the fantastic drivers that take part in it. And one of the last few series, I think, where you can find out the Mustang running around. Of course, I'm talking about the sports car challenge that runs, like you were saying, on alternate weeks compared to the GT series.
Yep, so that was the Ricmotech GT challenge, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks as the season comes to an end in about 1.5 weeks' time at Road America. Make sure to catch it. So next up, we will talk about our other series for today, the Apex Racing League American GT Championship. Second round of the season, this time at Road Atlanta. And I'll give a quick rundown of race one. Martin van Lootenholt, I mean, he's really good. British G2, he managed to find a format for him where he wasn't dominant in. So just put him on some British circuits, and it seems like he struggles a little bit, perhaps, just with the absolute carnage that we had in that season. But unfortunately, he's won 3 out of the 4 rounds so far this season, so dominating quite handily in the points. He got pole position in race one and just drove away from the rest of the field. There was a big collision in the GTE field, caused by a driver just running into the back of another driver, and it caused absolute mayhem after that. About 10 cars getting involved in that. Thankfully, they had some faster pairs. Also noted down that second place became a bit of a curse in the GTE class because McMahon, who never makes mistakes, Tom McMahon, I mean, he's Mr. Consistent, as we found out in the British GT Championship. And he spun by himself on lap 2, I think, at the top of the crest. As we always say, Marco, as you always say, it's only a matter of time until someone crashes there. And that was absolutely the case. So he spun out of second place. Also, Lizzo Whiskey spun out of second place, I think, at that exact same corner as well. And in the end, it was 2 other drivers. It was Madsen in third place in that race, and Utreras in second place.
Yeah. Have Utreras, nice to have him back racing, and he had a lot of fans in the chat, if I'm not mistaken. So, but yeah, Van Loosenholt, I mean, no matter which car you put him into, is like sort of our version of Aeronom. He always tries, he always finds a way to win. The only thing he doesn't need to do, like you said, British tracks and changing car every week. That is not good. Even for him, that is too much.
Yeah. And in the GT3 class in that race, Carl Kravner got pole position, absolutely dominated, with Dalladoni, who is mega consistent. We'll talk about race 2 in a second, but spoiler alert, he got a podium in that as well. So he's got a podium in 3 out of the 4 rounds so far, yet to win any rounds, but that's helping him in the championship. And Mike Horder was in third place as well, all relatively close at GT3 field. In race 2 then, I've written down for the GT3s, Scott Brazier had a storming drive. I started in 5th place. I think he actually dropped back, perhaps in the early stages by a couple of places. And then from then on was absolutely incredible. Overtook Carl Cravener out there, who won, of course, race 1. And Brazier just overtook pretty much the entire field, maybe Dalladoni as well. And he got his second race win of the season. It was really impressive after a little bit of an underwhelming qualifying and getting caught up in a collision in race 1. Boshoff and Dalladoni rounding up the podium. Good result for Boshoff there. And in the GTEs, Tom McMahon managed to win out. A poor race 1, like I said, spinning out of second place. So started quite far up for race 2. He managed to take the lead, pull out a little bit of a margin, whilst Van Loosenholt made his way up through the order. Got held up a little bit behind Simon Underhill, I think it was, and Nick Madsen as well. Still finished in second place, though, only a few seconds off, with Madsen getting another podium in third position. So another competitive round, Marco. A little bit crazy. I had to do the protest afterwards, and I mean, it took me a couple of days, to say the least. So some drivers are a bit aggrieved with one another. Hopefully, the standards will improve a little bit for Laguna Seca next time. But I think the competitiveness, particularly of the GT3 class, is superb. And of course, something that we haven't talked about on the broadcast too much is the fact that we got Pro and Am. It's difficult to imagine Pro and Am because everyone's so competitive. But trust me, those amateur standings are insanely close at the moment. So it's some nice championship narratives, I think, setting up.
I mean, the race 1 finish in the GT3 was something else, with Cravener, Dalledon, and Horder basically 1 second covering the 3 of them. 0.1 between first and second. I have no idea how you can say. I mean, no, I know what you say, but I laugh at the idea of Dalledon being a consistent driver because I know him very well.
He was laughing at it as well.
because at least he's honest. He's crazy, but he's honest. So, I mean, if there's something that has really eluded him in his career, has been consistency and has been dedication. He's the kind of driver that likes to jump, much like Victor Tanaka of Euro V8 fame. He likes to jump into every possible car at the last second and race in 500 different categories throughout the year. So I was very surprised to see him both times, on the podium, and I was very, very happy. I talked to him after the races. I was doing something else, other work, but I managed to catch up with him after the race, and he was delighted by the consistency that he showed. And it's a short championship, so consistency is super important. It's very important also in long championships, but of course mistakes here you pay them much a bigger price than in longer series. So let's see. Of course, there was a coming together in the first round between himself and Brazier. So I think Scott is the quickest guy in the GT3 field. But we'll see. Especially because Laguna Seca is going to be a very hectic round. I can imagine, Sam, because of the nature of the track being very, very narrow and tough to pass. And especially in race 2, there might be some shenanigans with the lappings of the GTs on the GT3s. So well, good luck to you on the protest, and hopefully it all goes very clean. But that's a very hard place to pass.
Yeah, and we don't visit it too much, particularly in kind of big cars. I mean, the last 2 times, I think I saw it in BSR MX5 a couple of months ago, or maybe 1 month ago, and then also saw it as one of the last rounds of the BSRTC when that's ended a couple of months ago. So it's going to be unique to see GT cars go around there, but it's a free circuit. It's a track that I think drivers have got experience rounds in other on other simulators on other games, so hopefully shouldn't be too problematic. So in the championship, then after 2 out of 7 meetings, Mats van Liesnold leading the way with 148, McMahon in second with 120, and Utreus with 92. They are the GTE Pro in the GTE AM. Like I said, so close. Andrew Brown, 68. James Salt, 67. Simon Underhill, 64. Tiago Loureiro, 64. So 4 points separating the top 4 in that class. In the GT3s, Scott Brazier leads by 20 points, 126. Horder and Aladone on 106, and Ferenc Kern on 103. And in the GT3 AM, Rob Sutherland with 84, Rob Thiessen with 70, and Dave Petts with 68. Of course, there's also a drop round as well, just to make it a bit more complex for us. But it is basically extremely close in that championship. And of course, you can catch that series next time out on tomorrow at 20 GMT or 2015 GMT. Certainly recommend it. So now the big topic of the week. It is the iRacing build, the 2020 Season 1 build for iRacing. And I've got notes down of all the major stuff, Marco. So what we'll start off with is the new Skippy. So I don't believe there was any physics changes. However, I'm sure you have jumped into the Skippy straight away, saying that it's your one of your most successful cars. So what does it feel any different, and what changes have iRacing seemingly made?
Physics are the same. That was also confirmed in the release notes, but I can say that it looks absolutely beautiful. Fantastic car, of course. I think this will also help them a lot, like I was speculating in the previous episode, with their new damage model, which has been seamlessly introduced in this new car as well. So it was also free for whoever owned the original Skip Barber car. It is absolutely fantastic. It got an update on the V7 tires, of course, because those are basically a continued work in progress. Beautiful car to drive. Now, sadly, of course, and this will go back to the next topic, I think. It is being put this week in a multi-class fun series with the Formula 3 car, which I think is to test multi-class new damage model situations. So I have to be honest, I spent some time trying both cars, the F3 and which got the new, well, already had the new tires, had a little bit of a the new damage model and the Skippy, but most of the times me and my teammates, including the Italian guy we were talking about in the previous part, are spending our evenings crashing into each other and see who can make the most the more carnage with the F3 and the Skippy. So on that note, the damage model on the F3 is beautiful, and it's going to make for some very interesting races, both in the big series and in the the D class series, the fixed series. I had something that never happened to me in a simulator. I was, jumped a bit hard on a curb at the new Lime Rock, which we will talk about again, I think, very soon. And I had a massive vibration because basically I jumped on the curb so hard that I snapped my right rear. So I go on the straight, the one where there once was the jump at Lime Rock, and in entering the right-hander, my right rear snapped completely. I spun, and I didn't know what happened at first. I heard that the car was like bouncing badly in the back. And then as I was spinning, almost poetically, I saw my right rear go past me and enter the wall. And I said, that is what happened. So, I mean, it's great. It's great to see that. It's great. You hit the curbs too hard, you lose the suspension. The new sounds for the collisions are so... being a marshal, I've heard crashes in real life, up close. The new crashing noises when you hit someone are beautiful. I have to say that, it has been a very, very fun couple of evenings crashing these little cars left and right. Which brings me to, of course, the track where this series is running all week long, the new Lime Rock Park, and I can tell you, again, gorgeous stuff from the art design. I am going to miss the old Lime Rock a bit, but this is a great rendition, much needed. The new chicanes are very, very nice, change from the, much, much not beloved old chicane up the hill. The curbs, you need to be careful again, especially with the new cars, the new damage model cars. You jump on them too hard, you say bye-bye to the suspension. But I mean, those trees, you were talking about the 2009 trees or whatever on the old Lime Rock. The new trees are, they look like proper trees. You fancy yourself being a bit of a, I don't know how do you call the guys that go into the wood and chop the wood down, but that's something I would love to do, looking at those trees. Beautiful, beautiful scenery. Track is much more smoother. Of course, the curbs are much better. And it's free for everyone, which is, of course, great. And I think the old Lime Rock has been retired from official series permanently. So we say goodbye to that. It has been put in the archive section, and it's the only track that has the archive tag on it. So I'm going to miss it a bit because of nostalgia's sake, but on the other hand, this new Lime Rock is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, we'll still be able to use it in league sessions.
Yes.
So, I mean, one day, 5 years' time, when maybe Road America is replaced and Watkins Glen, of course, we've already got Old Silverstone. We could have a 2009-esque championship or something with GT1 cars. That's in my mind, that's a brilliant idea. But as all these tracks get replaced, and no, it's good that the crest is still there though, as a configuration. That you can still have that incredible blind crest at the top of the hill. Have you tried the second chicane at all? I didn't realize there was a second chicane.
I
Going
knew
through
it
the penultimate corner
because of the R Factor 2 Lime Rock, so I knew that there was another chicane there. But no, I had so many big crashes at the turn there, not the chicane. I never raced there the day they had the chicane. The second, I did always practice on the days where they had the right-hander going down to the final corner then. And I had so many crashes. I never had this happen in any car on iRacing, which something that I felt it was beautifully realistic. If you hit the curb too hard there, and the car hits with the bottom, I'm talking of about the F3, the car then flies, you bounce and bounce, but you have basically no more traction, so you are in the car as a passenger hopelessly bouncing towards the tire wall on the left. And you have this feeling of hopelessness as the car keeps bouncing and bouncing and bouncing until you finally crash into the wall. So I don't know if it's the new curbs or something new in the damage model. I have to try that with another car, maybe one that doesn't have the new damage model in. But it was it made that corner that much. I mean, there is a lot more runoff area compared to the past because you have the chicane there. But I think it made the corner tougher because you need to be very, very good in hitting the curb and the apex more than the curb the right way.
Yeah, it's yeah, we'll be interested to see if that's the new damage model or what. So yeah, fantastic changes for Lime Rock right there. We'll also talk about then the new V8 supercars. Not sure if you've had an opportunity to drive these, Marco, but of course a big change, perhaps a change for a couple of series that we run on Apex Racing TV as well. The new V8s are quite contrary to the old ones. I'm not an expert on the series, but I believe they've got a bit more downforce now than the old version of the cars. So did you notice much difference, and do you think it's a positive change that this new generation of cars?
I could complete a lap, so that is a big
Wow.
change
I
compared to
mean,
the
they
old
must be
cars.
way too easy then, really. They must be
I
like F1 cars.
To be fair, I took the car to my favorite road course, which is Spa, of course, after Sebring, but too many bumps there. And I spun coming out of the pits because the car has the new tires, and I forgot about it, so I floored it on the pit exit of the F1 pit exit. So, but after that, I gathered myself up and took it easy on the first lap. Second lap, I was able to push push, my kind of pushing, so Sunday drive kind of speed for regular drivers. And I could tell that I needed to be careful on the throttle coming out of the corners. The car, of course, tended to put a lot of power on those rear wheels, and you could slide all over the place. The brakes felt to me like the brakes of the Porsche Cup, so you need to be gentle on them. You need to be very savvy in using them. It was a pleasure to drive. Now, of course, I am sure I am lapping 6 to 7 seconds slower than a proper lap around there. So I don't know if you push hard, it's going to be tough like the old car. But I had a much, much better feeling with this car than the admittedly limited times I tried both the old V8 supercar, the Ford, and then the 2014 generation of cars.
Yeah, and maybe if they are a little bit different to drive, maybe that'll, help out maybe the midfield drivers, and particularly like the Euro V8 Supercar series. Maybe we'll bring the whole pack a little bit closer to one another. A bit of a reset as well in terms of setup. So, no, really good that that's coming around. What do you think actually of the new tyre model? Because I've heard a lot of hate, particularly with the F3 car, because of course they have standing starts in that series, and so off the line you got stone cold tyres with with barely any grip. Would you say that that iRacing take that too far, perhaps with the low tire grip off the starts, or would you say that actually it's quite realistic? And are there any other elements of the new tire model that you have noticed?
For reasons we will talk about later, I drove a lot of the Porsche Cup car these last few days, last couple of days, and I've read a lot of people that are a bit they say that the car is undrivable in the first few laps of the race or of the run. Again, maybe because I'm very slow, but I felt much more comfortable now than I did in the past driving this car. Uh, Again, maybe because I have always been slow, so to me doesn't make much of a difference coming out of the pits, and I don't push hard because that is my speed. But I feel the car is much more responsive and planted on the floor when you want to do something. Of course, if you are too aggressive, you are going to crash, you're going to spin, it's inevitable. But I had no trouble whatsoever getting the tires warm and then having a fairly decent number of laps at Watkins Glen, especially, where I had absolutely no issue. So again, who knows? Who knows really? By the way, done with a standing start there, so not even warming up the tires. I feel this is a big step forward now. Surprisingly, I still have to try the new tire model on the NASCAR Cup cars, so that will be maybe a topic for another time. But on the road cars, it's I think a fantastic change and very welcome. I want to try it also on the Formula Renault 3.5, one series that we will broadcast next season, of course, on Saturday evenings, the official series. So that is a car that I think will benefit greatly from the new tire model. And of course the MX-5, which I think also got a little bit more horsepower to make it in line with the real life cars. Now don't know if that was a you know, a spec. I'm going through the release notes right now to see. Yeah, this vehicle is built to the latest spec. So yeah, they got basically a bit more pepper under the hood, which makes the car a little bit more lively. I still have to try it, but drivers are also, you know, getting to learn it very quickly because of the various championships and of course the global MX-5 series being the most popular road series in iRacing.
Yeah, of course. So will be great to see what changes that car has to it. But yeah, the new tire model not hugely accepted by a lot of people, but hopefully it's all kind of amendable. Like for example, I mean, for the F3 cars or for any cars with standing start, you could just, you know, increase the temperature of the tires on the start if you have a standing start. So I'm sure it has a few workarounds. In terms of other stuff, then, so the next biggest stuff I think was AI, something that we weren't really expecting until a few days ago. It's been on the agenda for about a year now. iRacing have been working on it for at least 2 years, and it's not groundbreaking, I'd say, Marco. It's not like an incredible level up on other simulators that have AI. It has a few faults. I've seen some crashes on formation laps, for example, for the cars, and of course it's very limited just for the Porsche Cup car and a few circuits. But yeah, how have you found it? Is there what faults have you kind of found in it, and what elements do you think have iRacing really made a good step with?
Okay, first of all, for me, when I got the news, it was like Christmas came early. You know how much I've been hoping for AI to come to iRacing. So yeah, it's still very rough around the edges, and there's a lot of things that I would like to have that are not there. But of course, that is because it's a very soft launch. So, for example, you cannot get you know, you cannot touch the setup of the opponent, so you cannot force pit stops. You know, but I mean, the races I ran, I found that was basically also by creating a roster. This is a big plus. This is what I was hoping for. You have absolutely no limits in the customization of your opponents. You know, I'm a big fan of AI championships because I have nothing better to do usually, and so to be able to create in a matter of like 15 minutes 20 drivers, which each of which with their livery, their tendencies, was great. Then on the racetrack, you see drivers make mistakes, you see lockups, you see crashes. I think that is absolutely everything I wanted and more. The things that need to be addressed, I mean, first of all, yes, some of the rolling starts are a bit bugged. Um, I noticed also I was, you know, having fun issuing, you know, admin commands because basically you are a server admin when you do an AI race. And so I called for a caution. The pace car came out, and then I gave the leader of the race a virtual rendition of Alessandro Dalle Donne, by the way. I gave him an end-of-line penalty, and he went absolutely bananas. And instead of dropping to the back, he did a full lap at max speed and then plowed into the safety car line, coming back at them at full speed. So, but 10 other times I gave the end of line, the AI followed the instructions. So, another thing I noticed when there's a collision, especially at the start, drivers, even after minor hits, AI drivers tend to park the car and retire, even though there's like really a minor hit to their car. And this tendency to park the car straight away causes, you might have seen the clip that Austin did of my stream on release day, that there was the crash on the apex of the first corner at Nürburgring Grand Prix, and it caused a major traffic jam. On the other hand, some of the drivers were very, very sneaky and were able to go past the crash on the outside. But these are things that I think will be ironed out. Now instead of having like 2 or 3 testers, they have thousands of testers, and I'm sure they are monitoring in the background everything we do with the AI to see the things that can be improved. There was a moment of joy, which some drivers were able to jump in racing against other Cup cars, NASCAR cars, but it was a mistake on iRacing's part. They got removed straight away. So some of the lucky guys were able to race there, and they said that apart from the field pulling towards the inside wall at the start, the AI was at a very good level even on the ovals. So who knows, that might be the next thing coming through. Of course, this is on a very limited number of tracks. I think there were 7 ovals by mistake put up with the NASCAR Cup cars, together with the 7 racetracks that we have for the Porsche Cup car. But yeah, I mean, as a first step, it's very good. I'm expecting, of course, more on the customization side, in the sense of what you can do with the races, and the setting up reverse grids. You can set up championships, so this is perfect already. Whether everything is customizable, we need a bit more in the sense of forcing pit stops, etc. And of course, when it comes to other kind of cars, it's going to be even better. But it was so good to be able to race in a car where I don't feel very comfortable, the Porsche Cup car, against AI, and really test my limits. So this is going to be super useful when it goes to other cars in the future. I'm absolutely not concerned at all about participation, because of course racing in the official series has its all kind of perks and excitement. But this is much needed, mostly because for me iRacing has ruined the physics of almost every other sim, and so racing in offline championships against the AI in those sims is not the same feeling as iRacing. So big thumbs up, beautiful feature. Can't wait for what they have in store for the future of this feature here.
Yeah, so a lot of potential from it then, but yeah, just need to iron out some of those issues. Would love to see it in the DP. Personally, I mean, for the last 2 years, I haven't raced against more than like 4 people in a DP race. Imagine 60 of them going round Montreal or something. Legendary, or Belle Isle. Oh, Lime Rock. The possibilities are endless. So really looking forward to that. So congrats on iRacing for releasing that, and I'm sure it will be something that rapidly improves over the next few years, I think, as they add more and more elements in the customization, as you say, Mark. The fact that you can have 13 to 70-year-old drivers and aggressiveness, the quality of the drivers, so that is a superb element, which
My
really does eclipse
favorite
any other game.
my favorite rating is the how optimistic the driver is, which means how much better than what he actually is, he think he is. So
Okay.
if you have a driver that has like a 50 out of 100 rating as a skill, but you give him 100% of how optimist he is, or optimistic, he is going to chuck the car into the corners, late brake, making mistakes. basically you could have a AI version of me. Also the
Well,
smoothness, I am slow, not smooth, and not very optimistic. So yes, basically you can create my version, and of course there's also the aggressiveness of the pit strategy, and also there is another value there, which is the pit crew ability. So this will also, possibly, let's say, model a F1 kind of season. And so you have, the Red Bull mechanics are fantastic, Ferrari a bit less. Uh, who knows, of course, in the interest of fairness, I put all my AI drivers on the same level of pit crew ability because, yeah, I mean, it's a spec car, spec series. But yeah, very, 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 very nice feature. Speaking of customization, another big surprise that I thought would never come to iRacing is the costume spec maps. And if you're racing around in series in week 13, you might see a lot of very shiny cars, and that is because you can now basically do whatever you want with the race car, including making it Red Bull-like, so matte paint, completely metallic looking, and everything else in between. So this is a massive step up. The video that iRacing put out to explain how to do it is massively confusing. It's much more simpler than that, I learned, and you can have some, with a bit of trial and error, you can have very, 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 I would say, uh, maybe not not masterpieces by any stretch of the imagination.
flamboyance.
Well, yeah, yeah, now I'm racing around in a uh, metallic magenta BMW M8, for example, no? Which
Lovely.
is, I don't think it's a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but it is what I wanted to do. I have to say that the metallic looks better on some colors than on other. I mean, if you get, you can very easily get, the late 2000s McLaren style of livery, so basically the chrome reflective, like super easy, and that looks absolutely stunning. And the reflections that you have on the livery while you drive, looking at the trees, the sky, top-notch stuff, absolutely amazing. And also you now can uh, basically there's also some levels that you can tweak, and you can get the stickers on the car to have a sticker-like gloss to them, which makes them look even better and stand out. So again, I thought this was not at all coming to iRacing, at least not in a near future, and it's absolutely stunning what you can do with a little bit of trial and error. Beautiful stuff, unexpected, and more importantly, Trading Paints, kudos to them, decided to make this a feature available for everyone, not just for their premium members. So everyone can enjoy and expect to see a lot of very flamboyant cars on the grid in the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see when we get back up and running with the series next week. I'm sure there's going to be still a few old liveries, but I think a few new people testing that feature. So fantastic that iRacing have added it. Once again, something that was literally announced, I think, the day before the new build. So really late notice. Now, the two more things that we're going to discuss, I think. Now, this one, I don't think got a whole lot of attention. I think with the amount of other stuff that came out, this feature, which has been asked for so long, and will really improve iRacing, particularly in the special events, significantly, is the incident drive-through. So, new element for iRacing: when you set up a session, you can make it so that if a driver or a team picks up a certain amount of incidents, they will get a drive-through the first time, and then every amount of incidents after that, they'll get another drive-through. So, of course, you could have 30 incidents, you get a drive-through, and then every 10 after that, you get an additional one. Of course, you can still get disqualified as well. But this element, Marco, is a massive improvement. We're used to, in the special events, having hundreds of incidents that the drivers are allowed to use before you get disqualified. So you literally, one instant and it's game over. Whereas now this is a much more progressive system where iRacing can afford to penalize a lot more drivers for breaching too many incidents, but at the same time, it won't be game over for them. And I think this will really take the special events up to a new level.
Massive upgrade. This is a massive upgrade as well. It has been asked a lot. iRacing has been very, very conservative on the changes to the incident limit. After introducing it, people, I think rightfully say, because of a knee-jerk reaction a few years ago. Positive change. I mean, the beautiful thing about iRacing that now I'm, always going on about is and more now than in the past, I think their willingness to change and, always moving forward with their simulator. This was something that I thought, again, would never come, and here we are. And once again, completely unannounced, it is going to be implemented in most of the series C-class and upwards, plus, of course, like you were saying, 100% in the Enduros, and of course it is available in the leagues as well. So this is going to change endurance racing, a lot. Also, even though this has been released and then removed and then will be, I think, released again on the 9th of December in the hotfix, they finally put cautions, proper cautions for dirt oval racing. In dirt oval, when you are under caution, laps don't count. Another thing that has been asked quite a lot of times, and finally here we go. It's here. I mean, it was here. Now I think it will come back on Monday, December the 9th, when it gets the hotfix, the first hotfix gets published. So, as per usual, a lot of stuff to look forward to. There is also a lot of stuff we haven't touched on. There are other cars. I mean, the V7 tires will be also on other cars. The full list is, of course, the Formula Renault 2.0, 3.5, the Mazda, the Optima, the Kia, the Legend, which makes me very happy, the NASCAR cars we talked about, the Porsche we talked about, the Street Stock, the Supercars, okay, and of course the Jetta will get the new tires. So it will be interesting talking about Ricmotech and the other multi-class series like that, like the production car challenge, or the new name of it. Some cars will have new tires, and like the MX-5 and the Jetta, and some won't, the Mustang and the Pontiac Solstice. So it's going to make for an interesting combination. Also, the old V8 got the new tire model, so I want to give it a try, So maybe it was the tires, or maybe it's just a driver that is not very good. So, I mean, a lot to look forward to. It's usually, the excitement, of course, the first few days of playing around. Sadly, I cannot wait for the new season to start because I want to test these things out, in proper competition and see the changes to iRacing made, for everyday racing in the sim. So, cannot wait.
Yeah, and just one other thing I was going to talk about was Learnerville, which is one of the few elements which we've known about for a few weeks already. Have you had an opportunity to drive around there yet?
Not yet, but I've been lucky enough to catch some of the videos that, of course, are already making the rounds on social media of drivers, of course, already using the track the proper way, and that is using its non-existent track boundaries and massive drop to make mega jumps on and off the circuit. I am waiting a second because, just on a personal note, not very interesting. I'm still on the fence whether to do the dirt sprint car season this season, but I think if it is there, and if I'm doing the season, I will definitely give it a try and maybe give you a review in the next few episodes.
Awesome. So, as a recap of this week 13 in terms of the build, quite a big question. What element would you say is your favorite out of the things added to iRacing for this week?
Sorry, Sam. There was a little bit of a delay, a bit of lag.
Okay. What would you say is the best elements of this week 13 event?
Well, I want to say AI, but that is a bit selfish, you know. In the interest of everything that, we always talked in the past about, we didn't talk about, but since I started on iRacing in the past, the first thing I noticed that people were talking about ice racing, to finally have a tire model where I feel confident and comfortable is great. And I mean, the new damage model is finally the era of the bent front wings, like they were made of I don't know, uh, burned plastic that you can easily model, are over. Now I'm a bit surprised, to be fair, that we don't get the new damage model on the TCR car, because I think that was the next step, but maybe they are not confident with that as of as to release it. It's a bit easier to model the damage model on open wheelers. You have the pieces that can be destroyed are the wings, a little bit of the nose, the sides, etc. I think with a covered wheel car, it's a bit more stuff. So, but yeah, I was a bit surprised by the absence of the TCR car in the new damage model portfolio for this build. But apart from that, a build that has a lot of meat on the grill, like we say in Italy, and again, most of the interesting stuff, or the most interesting stuff, has been announced relatively late. So you never know when people start complaining 1 week before that we don't have the release notes. That this is why, because they like to keep their fireworks for the end, for the final few days. And also, this means that next build we are getting the GT4 car 100% or 99%.
Yes, winter, it was said.
Yes.
So yeah, GT4 car coming up soon. Apart from that, it's a little bit difficult to call, but I guess the seeds have been planted with many of these things: damage model, tire model, and of course AI as well. And these elements just going to be rolled out gradually to the rest of the sim, and so you can kind of inevitably predict what's going to happen next. Next build, but certainly a few elements that iRacing have really improved on, which maybe haven't been given massive attention, but I think will really improve the overall simulator, which is fantastic. Of course, on Apex Racing TV, coming up in the next month, in the next week, all the series are getting back underway, which is absolutely superb. A little bit quiet still during December, just how it is with Christmas, of course, coming up. So a few series hesitating until January to get back going. But certainly the official series, we recommend getting back involved with that. Of course, Ricmotech will be on Monday night, Monday evening for Americans, of course. And yeah, just keep an eye out on iRacing, also on the iRacing Esports Network and Apex Racing TV for future broadcasts. But from me and from Marco, we'll say goodbye. You've been listening to the Apex Racing TV Weekly Roundup podcast. Make sure to keep up with all our series via YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also check out the iRacing Esports Network, where we broadcast several days a week. See you next week for another podcast.